Hello, everybody. This is Ian Lamont, author of the book Lean Media and the creator of the Lean Media Framework. And today I'm going to be talking about lean media audiences. And just quickly, lean media is a framework to help creators make great media. And it can be media that resonates with audiences and also can be media that can better support growth and revenue if that's the goal of the creative and the business team. And for some media ventures, they do want to create media that resonates with audiences, but they're not as focused on the revenue part of it. In the book, I share this diagram. It basically shows the three principles of lean media: reducing waste, understanding audiences, and focusing creativity. I'm not going to get into all the details of that today, but I do want to talk about understanding audiences. That's the second principle. And for a lot of media companies, especially media companies these days, they're really focused on the quantitative data. And part of the reason they're focused on it is because it's so readily available. Especially if you're doing anything in the digital realm, whether it's releasing an ebook, or you have digital downloads or streaming video, or you're doing advertising campaigns on online or mobile platforms, you can get access to all this great data that tells you how audiences are reacting to the media or how they're using the media. And even if you're just working with a prototype or with a focus group or with a demo, you can even get access to this types of data if you're using the right tools or you're doing surveys during the process. But the point I want to make in this video is that when you're listening to audiences, when I said, the second principle of lean media is understanding audiences, it doesn't only mean the quantitative data. Qualitative data is also a huge part of lean media. And qualitative data can come about from several different sources, including seeing how audiences react during performances or tapings or demos. If you give them a manuscript of a book or an early script of a screenplay that you're working on, how do audiences react to that? And quantitative data is good for identifying kind of where people drop off, how many are of a certain group are watching it versus how many are not. It could be male or female, or people in the city versus people in a suburban area. But what qualitative data is good for is understanding why. And if you're a creator of media, you really want to understand why people are reacting the way that they do, because that can help you improve the work that you're working on, whether it's a book or a film or a piece of music or whatever. It's also important to remember that feedback from audiences, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, it's meant to inform. It's not meant to override. So if you're in a band and you're getting feedback from your audience, and maybe you're playing two songs, and the first song the test audience loves it, and the second song they're not as enthusiastic, that doesn't mean you have to get rid of the second song. Maybe you can use the feedback, the qualitative and quantitative feedback, to understand why they're not reacting as well to the second song compared to the first song. And it may be some reason that you're not really expecting. Maybe it's a type of song where they're not going to jump up and down and clap because it's a ballad. There's all kinds of things that can be going on with that. There's many examples in the worlds of media of creators who understand their audiences. Amy Schumer and other comedians, throughout the years, it could be Jerry Seinfeld or Richard Pryor, they are masters of getting feedback from their audiences and understanding it and synthesizing it and making their media better. So, for instance, when a famous comedian's going out on tour, and at the beginning of the tour, their jokes and their gags and their bits, they're not as polished, but what they're doing is when they perform it every night, they're listening to see how audiences react. They're working on the timing and testing different things, and that's how they can create something that's truly great by the time the tour wraps up at the end of the tour. Other examples include Minecraft, the video game. This was created by a Swedish video game developer, and he used qualitative and quantitative feedback from posting games online or watching people play the game to better understand how people were using the game, and then to make improvements based on what he and his small team observed. And then another example is Marvel Studios. And this kind of surprised me when I learned about it, because it's a big Hollywood studio. And big Hollywood studios are famous for being, totally focused on the business and maybe having the creative people take a back seat. But actually, Marvel Studios is pretty smart about using audience feedback during development to understand what's working, what's not working, and even to the point where if they show something to a focus group and it's not working out the way they envisioned, they'll use that feedback to really retool the movie or the editing, or reshoot scenes, or do something else, so it will make for a better final product. Uh, Audience feedback in the Chubby media world, and this is traditional media, the way that things usually worked, and I've worked on projects like this myself, is, you have an idea, maybe it's for a script or a piece of music or a screenplay or a manuscript or whatever, and then you create it in secret, and you and your team create it in secret, and you work on it, you perfect it, and then you launch it, and then only after it launches do you actually discover whether or not people like it. And if you think about it, that's a bit backwards, because you might be spending all this time and effort creating something, and then at the end of the day, it doesn't really resonate that much. And lean media, what the idea is, you're actually taking feedback at much earlier stages. It could be as early as when the idea gets out there, or you have an early prototype or a demo version of it, and you're getting feedback from test audiences and seeing how they react to it, trying to understand why they liked or didn't like, or what resonates with them, in order that you can make something better later on. And then by the time you get to the launch stage, and it could be a hard launch like a movie, it's never going to be improved again, or it could be like a serial launch where you have several episodes, you can use feedback after that to try to improve it. This is one of my favorite examples from the book, Led Zeppelin. And in their early years, they used lean media, even though they didn't call it that. And if you're looking at this chart where it says Scandinavian tour, that's where they were getting their feedback. So they had their first practice in like August of 1968. Things really clicked with the core team. Then they had some ideas. And then they actually went right out on the road and started performing. And what they were doing is, besides, earning a little money and getting out in front of audiences, they were actually testing ideas. So it could be a song that they were testing, like, do people like this? Are people getting into it? Or the arrangement of a song. They were doing different technical things, or playing it in different ways, or maybe they have a longer solo in one song compared to another song. They were testing all these ideas, seeing how audiences reacted. They took that feedback and those ideas right back to the studio when they got back to London, recorded their first album, which was a smash success. They also used lean media for their second album, Led Zeppelin 2, getting feedback during while they were touring North America. So that's a very great example in the book. For more information about lean media, to better understand the framework, to see examples, the website has lots of free examples and videos that kind of talk about the idea. And also the book itself has lots of in-depth examples, not only about famous teams and famous creators, but also smaller independent teams or small projects. And you can learn from this. You can take advantage of some of the tools and examples in the book to make better media yourself. My name is Ian Lamont, author of Lean Media, and thank you so much for watching.